which has suddenly become my, what do you call it? Become what I'm known with, and I enjoy it. And I encourage people, once in a while, put on your bow tie. It makes you look good, makes you look impressionable, it makes you look a serious person, and it makes people take a second look at you. I think, number one, parents started sparing the rod. Call it civilization, call it growing up and all that. Parents started sparing the rod because they always whipped us to shape. You knew what was expected of you, and you did it. Because if you didn't do it, your punishment is waiting for you. But as we grew up, I mean, you probably will ask me today, do I use the rod for my children, for instance? And the answer is no. And why it is no is that these days the children look up to you. They are more exposed than what we were. More exposed. They know what daddy does. If you show them a bad example, they will repeat that bad example. If they know that when daddy wakes up in the morning, before he goes anywhere, he needs time to say his prayers. They too, unconsciously, will copy you. If they know that when dad goes out, he comes back certain time. It doesn't come in at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Subconsciously, they too will know there's something that this old man sees that doesn't make him go out all night. So they copy from us. But then, like people say, I don't know how correct it is, that these days people are so busy looking for money. They're all over the place. They abandon the home to nannies and housemates and all that, and the children a lot of the time are on their own. But people like you and I, for instance, probably had housemates in the house. You see, but the work that the housemaid does, we were also made to do it. Right? Washing our plates, staying in the kitchen to see how things are prepared. You took us through it, even if you didn't have to do it yourself. And that's why you and I are what we are today. But for the modern, young families, most if there's some money to back it up, no, the children don't touch a lot of housework in the homes. They can go out by the time they learn. They can wear, you know, I mean, you see some little young girls and what they wear. In fact, even to the church, you want to ask yourself, where did they, aren't their parents go to see what the children are wearing? Particularly the female. Even the guys wearing what they, say they don't use the belt, the trouser would just be somewhere on their hips and all that. Yeah, I mean, we want them to express themselves, but within control. So, wrapping up on that, I'm going to say, yes, we grew up under stronger control. Today's parents are so much in love with their children. They don't want to make them unhappy. You don't want to, pick up a stick and hit them. But I don't quarrel with that. But please be there for them when they need you. And don't be scared to talk to your parents, to talk to your children. No. We should never be scared to talk to them. Because they're not going to take us over. No, they are our children. So what you don't want them to do, communication, extremely important. Talk to them. Let them, because peer pressure is extremely strong out there. They're mixing with so many guys from much even richer homes who have more to spoil their children with. Now you are a moderate family, your moderate children have to mix and relate and go out with guys with stronger economic background. There is, there is some disconnect there. Let's bring our children closer. Let's talk to them. A lot of parents don't talk to their children, and it's not right. Because the more you talk to them, the more they have that empathy for you. They know you care for them. They know, because you have been moderately successful, for instance, they too want to be successful like you are, and all you are saying to them, follow my footsteps and you may not go wrong. And don't make wealth, money, the thing that should govern your homes. Don't spoil the children. Give them adequately what we all need to survive, and they will survive. In those days, while all you needed to take to school was 1 shilling. Okay, you still see children from rich homes who came with £1 and stuff like that. But let's be contented. Let's teach the children to be contented with what we have. Families are growing, society is expanding, and we can reach out to any part of the world. Now, we need to bring them closer to the home. At least up to the time that they are leaving you to go and start up there. But as long as it's still within your influence, it's very important that children and their families come much, much stronger together. I'm going to start with sports. I was an avid squash player. Okay, back in school, a bit of football, a bit of tennis, and all that. But when I started growing up seriously, I loved squash. And I played squash until I was over 50. Okay, and the doctor said, slow down on squash. So today, I do my swimming. Okay, I still do my swimming 2-3 times a week. Okay, and then of course I work. There's this thing that keeps on saying, if all you can do is work for 30-40 minutes a day, okay, and then of course I'm an avid fan of football up to today. I wish we could develop a local league so that I could slow down on my European Premier League sessions. So I love football and I love lawn tennis up to now. Now, favorite color, subdued. Okay. Hot colors frighten me. Okay. And if you have to do it, just make it minimal. When I pick my dress, for instance, you got to know you want the kind of shirt you want to wear to match the color of the tie you want to use, to match the color of your suit, so it doesn't run riot. So it's extremely important. And I said to my friend, just Google it. What color matches this and what color matches that? So you don't become like in a Christmas tree. on the road. That was the third one, food. I grew up enjoying my eba and amala. Growing up from Obalinde, okay? So I felt I do my eba, I do my amala. Rice.
Hello and welcome to World News on Souk News Television. I am Omobola Sandra. First, the headlines. Presidency assures Nigerians inflation is heading to single digit, promises relief in food and living costs. Nigeria's non-oil exports jump 109.7% to 18.43 trillion naira in first half of 2025, sustaining trade surplus. South Africa approves long-term Durban port leases, securing vital fuel import access. U.S. unveils bold maritime strategy to counter China's global port dominance, secure trade routes and supply chains. Toby Amushon wins silver in 100-meter hurdles at World Championships, earns $55,000 in prize and bonuses. The Special Advisor to the Presidency on Economic Matters, Tope Fashua, has assured Nigerians that the country's inflation rate is steadily moving toward a single digit. He said the development will translate into better living conditions for citizens, particularly in terms of food prices and household expenses. According to him, the recent easing of inflation has already begun to impact food costs, with several items showing signs of price reductions in local markets. He emphasized that government reforms and consistent policy measures are helping to sustain this positive trend, giving Nigerians reason to expect more relief in the coming months. The National Bureau of Statistics recently released new headline inflation data confirming the improvement. The report showed that the inflation rate fell to 20.1% in August 2025, compared to 21.88% recorded in July 2025. This marks a significant step toward economic stability and improved consumer welfare. Vice President Kashim Shettima has reiterated Nigeria's openness to investments and partnerships across multiple sectors, stressing that President Bola Tinubu's administration remains committed to transforming the nation's economy. Shettima said the bold reforms rolled out since 2023, though painful, are already yielding positive results and demonstrate the government's determination to reset the economy for growth. He made the remarks on Monday while receiving a delegation from Visa, led by the regional president for Central and Eastern Europe, Middle East and Africa, Tariq Mahmoud, at the presidential villa, Abuja. According to him, the administration's policies are not just stabilizing the economy, but also creating fertile ground for sustainable investments and long-term partnerships. Nigeria's non-oil exports surged to 18.43 trillion naira in the first half of 2025, more than doubling from 8.79 trillion naira in the same period of 2024, according to new data from the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. The 109.7 increase played a decisive role in sustaining the country's trade surplus despite weaker crude oil earnings. The NBS report showed that the performance helped Nigeria post a trade surplus of 12.64 trillion naira in the first half of 2025, underlining the growth contribution of non-oil sectors to the economy. Officials attributed the increase mainly to the rising value of agricultural produce and solid mineral exports, reflecting the gradual success of ongoing efforts to diversify national revenue sources away from oil dependence. Analysts say the strong non-oil export performance could improve foreign exchange inflows, strengthen external reserves, and stabilize the naira. However, they caution that sustaining the momentum will require continuous investment in infrastructure, value-added processing, and policies that boost competitiveness in global markets. The Equipment Leasing Registration Authority, ELRA, and the Bureau of Public Procurement, BPP, have inaugurated a 7-member strategy and implementation committee to enhance regulation of the leasing industry in Nigeria. According to a statement issued on Monday by ELRA's Head of Media and Corporate Communication, Adebola Brookslin, the committee will focus on creating a clear and enforceable regulatory framework to guide leasing companies nationwide. The move is part of wider efforts to standardize operations in the leasing sector, which plays a critical role in financing businesses and infrastructure projects. By strengthening oversight, ELRA and BPP aim to promote transparency, protect stakeholders, and boost investor confidence in the industry. Analysts say a stronger regulatory framework could unlock more opportunities for small and medium enterprises, SMEs, that rely heavily on leasing to acquire equipment, while also ensuring compliance with procurement standards. The committee is expected to submit its recommendations in due course, paving the way for policy reforms and better enforcement. The Nigeria Customs Service, NCS, has announced plans to fully automate its overtime cargo clearance system in Zone A as part of efforts to decongest ports, improve efficiency, curb corruption, and enhance trade facilitation. Comptroller General of Customs, Adeni Adewale, made the disclosure on Wednesday during a sensitized exercise with stakeholders in Lagos. He noted that some abandoned cargoes have remained at the port for over 15 years, creating inefficiencies that hamper international trade. Adeniyi explained that the automation project marks a decisive step toward ending decades of poor management of overtime cargo, which accounts for a significant portion of daily complaints received by his office. He stressed that the reform is not intended as a revenue drive, but as a strategic tool to enhance transparency, boost trade competitiveness, and strengthen Nigeria's economic growth. Stakeholders welcomed the initiative, noting that automation would help eliminate bureaucratic bottlenecks, speed up clearance processes, and restore confidence in Nigeria's port operations. The United Nations has called on Nigeria and other African countries to present their updated national climate plans as opportunities to transform their economies and improve living standards. The call comes as the deadline for all signatories of the Paris Agreement to submit new climate plans draws closer. UN Climate Change Executive Secretary Simon Still stressed that strong climate strategies are more than environmental commitments. They serve as blueprints for stronger economies, job creation, and resilience. According to him, ambitious climate plans can unlock large-scale investments, expand access to clean energy, and strengthen infrastructure, particularly as African nations continue to face the brunt of worsening climate disasters. Still added that the continent stands to benefit significantly if governments align their plans with inclusive growth and sustainability goals. He noted that the climate adaptation and mitigation efforts could open the door to new industries, create millions of jobs, and position Africa as a global leader in renewable energy and green technology. Africa's richest man and president of Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, has warned of deliberate attempts by entrenched petroleum sector mafias to sabotage his multi-billion-dollar refinery. Speaking in Lagos on Monday during the launch of compressed natural gas-powered trucks for direct fuel distribution, Dangote said the resistance mirrors the collapse of Nigeria's once thriving textile industry, which he claimed was destroyed by vested interests. He disclosed that the refinery's first year of petrol production has been fraught with difficulties as powerful groups in the downstream sector attempt to frustrate its operations. Despite the pushback, Dangote vowed the refinery would not be derailed, stressing that his group remains committed to breaking the dominance of cartels and ensuring Nigerians benefit from reliable, affordable fuel supplies. This is the world news on Sook News Television. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
In Africa, if there's one man who has consistently been a household name and index of reference in the business arena, the name Dangote apparently stands tall. The Africa's richest man clearly benchmarks success, wealth, and prosperity. His official love and passion for business are quite phenomenal. These can be traced to his background. Born in April 10, 1957 to Maria Sanusi Dangote and Mohammed Dangote, his maternal ancestors were prosperous caravan traders under British colonial rule, and his grandfather, Alhaji Sanusi Dangote, was a commodity trader. Dangote's grandfather was heavily involved in his upbringing and helped ignite his entrepreneurial spirit. For Dangote, one will ever assume his wealth was handed out or easily channeled, being an offspring of Dangote, but his success didn't come through daydreaming. Dangote complemented inherited fortune with deliberate hard work and innovation to pave his way to the top. Those who knew Dangote while growing up will not be surprised at his outstanding success. At age 8, Dangote uses pocket money to buy sweets, which he and others sell for a profit. Everything big in life starts from little. Taking a clue from this, Dangote, from a seed loan of 500,000 obtained from his uncle, started business, which he traded commodities and business supplies, primarily cement. By 1981, his firm was successful that he had incorporated other businesses and established the Dangote Group. His empire extended to foodstuffs, including sugar, salt, wheat, cement, haulage, and other business concerns. Among his holdings were Dangote Industries, Dangote Bale Nigeria, Dangote Cement PLC, Benue Cement Company PLC, Dangote Sugar Refinery PLC, Dangote Flour Mill, and St. Allah Industries PLC. In addition to his holdings in Nigeria, the Dangote Group has operations in several other African countries. With these giant strides in the business arena, Dangote will forever be grateful to his grandfather for giving him wings to fly. According to Forbes, an American business magazine, Dangote remains the richest man in Africa with an estimated fortune of $13.9 billion. Dangote is one Nigeria highly decorated with honors as well. His human service, huge investment also got him both local and international recognitions. Like the Guardian Man of the Year in 2015, he won the 2016 African Business Leader Award organized by the African American Institute. Dangote was cited as one of the top most influential Africans by the New African magazine in 2015, 2017, 2018, and 2019. He was recently conferred with the prestigious award of the National Order of the Lion by the President of Senegal. When it comes to breaking jinx, Dangote has it in full measures. He took his pioneering and jinx-breaking adventure to another dimension, unveiling of the $20 billion refinery, widely adjudged as the largest single-train petrochemical refinery in the world. The refinery has the total capacity of 650,000 barrels of crude oil per day and is expected to earn as much as $21 billion in annual income. Situated on 2,500 hectares site at the Lekki Free Trade Zone, Lagos, it is supplied with crude oil by the largest largest subsea pipeline infrastructure in the world. When fully in operation, the refinery will provide 135,000 permanent jobs in the region. When it comes to family life, Dangote seems to, however, prefer maintaining a low profile. He got married to Zainab in 1977, but divorced at an unknown date. He was later married to Maria Mohammed Rufai. Dangote has 3 daughters named Halima, Maria, Fatima, and he also adopted his son. Dangote is one grounded authority that combines rare intelligence with self-effacing demeanor, a persona that naturally makes kindness. Like an eagle, Dangote's foresight and unusual business acumen make him a rare to come by. Though he owns chains of business in Nigeria and across Africa, the quest by this uncommon risk taker to conquer more business territories may not wane anytime soon.
Thank you for staying with us. South Africa's Transport Minister, Barbara Christie, has approved long-term lease agreements at the Island View Precinct in Durban, ending years of uncertainty caused by short-term leases. The move, using special powers under the National Ports Authority Act, secures access for major oil companies, including BP and vital for the country's fuel import and supply infrastructure. Island View Precinct handles about 70% of South Africa's fuel imports and serves as the primary storage and supply hub. Industry leaders welcomed the decision, highlighting the benefits for investment stability and supply security. Negotiations for 25-year lease agreements with the Transnet National Ports Authority are expected to follow shortly. The approval also supports the transition of Sapref, jointly owned by BP and Shell, after its refinery closure and sale to the state-owned Central Energy Fund. The ruling could further influence government's plans to revive the flood-damaged refinery and expand oil trading operations led by the South African National Petroleum Corporation. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense has launched an updated civil defense handbook designed to help citizens stay informed and prepared during emergencies. Released Tuesday in Taipei, the 3rd edition provides clear guidance on responding to a range of situations, from natural disasters to potential crises, while emphasizing public safety and community resilience. Officials highlighted that the guide is part of a broader effort to strengthen national preparedness in times of peace. Shen Wei-He, a senior defense official, explained that 5,000 printed copies will be distributed alongside free digital versions in both Chinese and English. The handbook includes tips on assembling emergency kits, accessing verified information, and using radios or landlines if internet services are disrupted. The initiative reflects Taiwan's proactive approach to public safety and its commitment to ensuring that citizens are equipped with the knowledge they need to stay safe. The handbook also educates the public on identifying misinformation, encouraging awareness and vigilance through accessible, easy-to-understand illustrations and instructions. The International Monetary Fund has projected that Vietnam's economy will grow by 6.5% in 2025, slightly down from 7.09% in 2024, citing the effects of new United States tariffs on exports. The forecast, released Tuesday, reflects the growing impact of global trade policy on one of Asia's fastest developing economies. According to the IMF, the slowdown is also tied to the gradual phasing out of temporary government stimulus measures introduced in recent years. The organization warned that additional global trade tensions or tighter international financial conditions could further dampen exports and foreign investment. Despite the projected slowdown, Vietnam remains on a strong growth path by regional standards. The IMF noted the country's structural strength, such as its young workforce and growing manufacturing base, continue to support long-term resilience and economic competitiveness. China has entered the top 10 of the United Nations Global Innovation Index for the first time, replacing Germany and marking a major milestone in its push to lead global research and development. The 2025 report, released Tuesday, highlights China's growing investment in high-tech sectors and private sector innovation, particularly in areas like robotics and artificial intelligence. The index, which ranks 139 economies based on 78 indicators, placed China in 10th position, following the United States, South Korea, and Singapore. Switzerland retained the top spot for the 14th consecutive year. China's rise is fueled by its position as the largest source of international patent filings in 2024, contributing about a quarter of the global applications. Despite a global slowdown in research and development, growth projected to fall to 2.3% this year, China's innovation momentum remains strong. Experts say this shift underscores China's strategic transformation from a manufacturing base to a global innovation leader, setting the stage for long-term competitiveness in science and technology. Foreign investors are making a cautious but growing return to China's $19 trillion stock market, driven by optimism around the country's tech innovation and the strategic push to diversify away from United States assets. The Shanghai Composite and Hong Kong indices recently hit multi-year highs, signaling renewed international interest in Chinese equities. Global hedge funds significantly increased their purchases of Chinese stocks in August. According to Morgan Stanley, while demand for emerging market funds, excluding China, has dropped sharply. Analysts credit China's advancement in artificial intelligence, semiconductors, and biotech as major confidence boosters, despite lingering economic concerns. Asset managers like Polar Capital and Alliance Global Investors have already raised their China exposure, with investors' inquiries and market visits on the rise. While long-term capital inflows remain tentative, analysts say China is re-emerging as a standalone investment class, with foreign capital now in a re-rating phase as it reconsiders the market's long-term potential. Japan's Finance Minister Katsunobu Kato reaffirmed the country's strong commitment to the World Trade Organization's framework, emphasizing the importance of maintaining fair and consistent trade practices. Speaking on the U.S. proposal to increase tariffs on certain imports, Kato highlighted Japan's dedication to applying tariffs within agreed WTO limits and ensuring equal treatment for all member countries. Kato's remarks underscores Japan's focus on stability and predictability in international trade, promoting cooperation based on established rules. This approach supports a balanced global trading system that encourages growth and mutual respect among nations. By adhering to WHO guidelines, Japan aims to foster a reliable trade environment that benefits all partners, while encouraging dialogue and collaboration on economic policies that drive sustainable development worldwide. This is still the world news on Silk News Television. We'll take another break. When we come back, more news.
I love cocoa because of my everyday cup of coffee. You may not be a lover of coffee like me, but I want to believe that you would like to make money from cocoa if you have your way around it, isn't it? This is Cashcraft, where we share with you insights on how to make money out of different business ideas. You might already know, but feel uninterested. You might even not be aware and just feeling lost in the crowd trying to find what best suits you. Whether you know or not, it can only get better when you are open to more knowledge and great ideas. My name is Grace Komolafe, and I want you to join me as I spy into the cocoa business. No hypes, just what works. Everybody knows cocoa, but not everyone knows the many things it's used for. When you hear cocoa, your mind jumps straight to the chocolate, sweet, dark, rich chocolate. But cocoa is far more than a one-trick bean. Cocoa comes from the cocoa tree, Theobroma cacao, but the part used for cocoa and all the other products is the bean, which grows inside the tree's pod. The cocoa tree produces large, colorful pods. Inside each pod are 20 to 50 cocoa beans surrounded by sweet pod. The beans are the real stars. They are fermented, dried, roasted, and processed to produce cocoa solids, cocoa butter, and chocolates. Cocoa is rich in fat. Beyond chocolate, it is used for food and beverage, beauty and skincare, pharmaceuticals, agriculture and industry, health and wellness. Now, let's talk business. Starting a cocoa farming business can be rewarding, especially in tropical regions where the crop thrives. Here are key tips to help you begin. 1. You need to understand the crop. Cocoa grows best in humid tropical climates like West Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia. It needs plenty of rainfall, shade, and rich, well-drained soil. And it starts yielding from 3 to 5 years after planting. 2. Get training or mentorship. Learning from experienced cocoa farmers or attending agricultural workshops can help a great deal. Likewise, understanding the life cycle, such as nursery period to transplanting, maintenance, harvesting, drying and fermenting remains very important. Usually, cocoa trees begin their journey in a nursery where seeds from high-yielding varieties are planted in fiber pods or plastic bags. The seedlings grow quickly, and in just a few months, they are ready to be transplanted to the main farm. 3. Choose the right variety. Select high-yield and disease-resistant cocoa varieties like CRI series from Ghana or Amazonia and Trinitario hybrids. Number 4. Secure land. Choose land in a cocoa-friendly zone. Test the soil to ensure it's fertile and free from waterlogging. 5. Set up a nursery. Germinate seeds in polybags or trays for 3 to 4 months before transplanting. Alternatively, buy seedlings from a certified nursery. 6. Land preparation and planting. Clear the land and provide shade. Cocoa doesn't like direct sunlight. Space your cocoa trees 3 times 3 meters apart. Include shade trees like banana or plantain in the early years. We move to 7. Now, regular maintenance. Weeding, pruning, mulching, and pest disease control are crucial. So apply manure or fertilizer as needed. Number 8 tips you need to know is harvest and post-harvest handling. Cocoa pods are ready when they turn yellow or orange. Harvest with care. Don't damage the tree. Ferment beans 5 to 7 days and dry them thoroughly for quality. And now it's time to make the cash. The number 9 tips is to market and sell. Connect with local cocoa buyers, processors, or cooperatives. Remember that quality beans fetch better prices. Hence, focus on good fermentation and drying. Lastly, I bring you the number 10 tip. Think long term. Cocoa is a long-term investment, so be ready for it. No complaints or over-agitation. Consider forming or joining a farmer cooperative for support and better access to resources. May I add that to begin a cocoa farming business, it is important to establish a comprehensive business plan. This plan should encompass key aspects such as the business description, product offerings, organizational structure, marketing strategies, competitive analysis, operational procedures, and financial details. These elements are crucial for laying a solid foundation to successfully launch and grow your cocoa farming venture. Kindly do a very detailed research to support the tips I just shared with you, so when you get in, you can come out with encouraging profits. Note, this is not a professional guide. It is just a heads up, a way to call your attention or pull you out of the lost crowd so you can begin to think differently and think business. Until I see you again, I am Grace Komalafe signing out on Cashcraft.
Thank you for staying with us. You're still listening to World News on Souk News Television. The United States government has launched its most ambitious maritime strategy in decades, seeking to weaken China's grip on global port assets and expand Western influence over critical trade hubs. Officials in Washington are exploring measures to support Western firms as acquiring Chinese stakes in key terminals, with concerns mounting that Beijing's global port network could threaten United States supply chains and military logistics during conflict. China, through state-backed groups such as COSCO and China Merchants, control or invest in over 100 port projects worldwide, including strategic gateways in Greece, Spain, the Caribbean, and the United States. Washington fears these holdings could be leveraged for espionage, military access, or disruptions in global trade. The administration has already blacklisted COSCO and is reviewing choke points such as the Strait of Gibraltar and Caribbean hubs for potential security risks. This sweeping maritime mission forms part of a broader push to rebuild American shipbuilding, expand its commercial fleet, and strengthen alliances against Chinese influence. However, the initiative has added new strain to already tense relations with Beijing, which defends its port investments as legitimate international cooperation. Analysts warn the contest over port dominance could reshape global shipping supply chain security and investment flows for decades to come. United States President Donald Trump is arriving in the United Kingdom for a rare second state visit aimed at strengthening the bilateral economic relationship. The visit, marked by a royal welcome from King Charles at Windsor Castle, will see major investment deals totaling more than $10 billion across energy, technology, and civil nuclear sectors. Key business leaders, including the chief executives of NVIDIA and OpenAI, will all participate in the event, with Google announcing a £5 billion investment in a new data center to support artificial intelligence services. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is leveraging the visit to promote job creation and lower energy costs, signaling a renewed special relationship between the two nations. Despite the positive economic outlook, political tensions remain as Prime Minister Starmer faces domestic criticism related to ambassadorial changes tied to Jeffrey Epstein. President Trump's past links to Epstein are also under scrutiny, but the visit's agenda focuses on advancing trade, finalizing tariffs agreements, and coordinating responses to global crises, including Ukraine and Gaza. And now, Spain has raised its 2025 economic growth forecast to 27% from 2.6%, citing stronger than expected performance in the third quarter. The government expects gross domestic product to expand by 0.7% between July and September, extending a positive run that has outpaced most advanced economies. Economy Minister Carlos Cuerpo, speaking at a press conference in Madrid, described Spain's outlook as resilient and forward-looking, noting that the country is set to remain the fastest-growing advanced economy until at least 2028. The upward revision reflects continued strength in tourism, robust domestic demand, and a gradual easing of inflationary pressures, which have supported household spending. Spain has also benefited from European Union recovery funds that are driving investment in infrastructure, digitalization, and green transition projects. Analysts say Spain's momentum contrasts with the broader Eurozone, where growth remains uneven due to high borrowing costs and weaker external demand. The government, however, cautioned that risks such as global trade tensions and energy volatility could still weigh on performance. Denmark on Tuesday announced plans to increase spending in Greenland, pledging 1.6 billion Danish crowns, that is $253 million, between 2026 and 2029 to upgrade healthcare and infrastructure. The investment underscores Copenhagen's efforts to strengthen its presence in the Arctic island, which has drawn growing international attention due to its vast reserves of oil, natural gas, and critical minerals essential for high-tech industries. Greenland, a semi-autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark, plays a key strategic role in the Arctic as melting ice opens new shipping routes and exposes untapped resources. Its geopolitical importance has grown in recent years, with global powers seeking influence in the region. Former U.S. President Donald Trump famously declared interest in acquiring Greenland in 2019, underscoring its value as both resource hub and strategic outpost. Danish officials said the new spending would improve living conditions for Greenland's 56,000 residents while reinforcing national unity, even as international competition for Arctic influence intensifies. And now global prices surged to a record $3,689.27 per ounce on Tuesday, driven by investor demand amid geopolitical tensions, central bank buying, and expectation of U.S. interest rate cuts. Experts at the India Gold Conference said the long-term rally remains strong, but the metal is overbought and due for a 5 to 6% correction before pushing toward $4,200 per ounce in 2026. Gold has already gained 40% in 2025, building on a 27% rise in 2024. Analysts believe falling interest rates and global instability will continue to support the metal's rise. Institutional buyers and exchange-traded funds have played a major role, while low yields make non-interest-bearing gold more attractive. The U.S. Federal Reserve is widely expected to cut rates this week, adding further momentum to gold's bullish outlook. Silver also hit a 14-year high at $42.50 per ounce, supported by both industrial demand and investor interests. Analysts see short-term dips as buying opportunities, with sentiment growing that gold could surpass $4,000 per ounce earlier than predicted. Investors are watching closely as the metal enters uncharted territory amid global economic uncertainty. And now moving on to sports, Nigeria's Tobi Amusho clinched silver in the women's 100 meters hurdles at the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo on Monday, earning a combined $55,000, that is 82.5 million naira, in prize money and kit bonuses. The 28-year-old, Nigeria's only gold medalist at the event, clocked 12.29 seconds to finish second behind Switzerland's Ditaji Kambuji, who stormed to gold in 12.24 seconds, setting a new national record. American Grace Star claimed bronze with 12.34 seconds, while her compatriot Masai Russell narrowly missed the podium in the 12.44 seconds after clipping several hurdles. The Champions League returns this week, with holders Paris Saint-Germain among 36 teams set to battle through a league phase, which begins today. A record 6 English clubs, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Newcastle United and Tottenham Hotspur will feature, the highest representation from any country in the competition's history. In total, 189 matches will be played, culminating in the final at Budapest Puskás Arena, May 2026. That's a wrap on the news, but before we go, here is a recap of today's top stories. Presidency assures Nigerians inflation is heading to single digits, promises relief in food and living costs. Nigeria's non-oil exports jumped 109.7% to 18.43 trillion naira in the first half 2025, sustaining trade surplus. South Africa approves long-term Durban port leases, securing vital full import access. U.S. unveils bold maritime strategy to counter China's global port dominance, secure trade routes, supply chains. Toby Amushan wins silver in 100-meter hurdles at World Championships, earns $55,000 in prize and bonuses. And that's a wrap on the world news on Sook News Television. I am Omobola Sandra. Have a good afternoon.
Achievements, goal setting, hard work, and dedication have been proven to be some of the elements towards success. The journey of remarkable individuals with lasting impact on the world are often filled with manifold stories, but through determination, they build their lives and make extraordinary contributions. Join me on the story of a trailblazer in business and philanthropy, Aiboje Ag Mokwede, a lawyer-turned-banker who has done well for himself, made an indelible mark within the banking sector, and has continued in his ambition of touching lives within Nigeria and across Africa. Aiboje Ag Mokwede. Within the Nigerian business space and philanthropy, few names resonate and are respected profoundly. Such is Aiboje Ag Mokwede. If you're just watching, kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great documentaries. Like, share, and comment. Known as a successful business mogul, banker, investor, and a philanthropist who cares about making difference, Ag Mokwede's story is one of hard work, creativity, and a desire to drive positive change across Africa. Born to civil service parents on September 24, 1966 in Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria, he hails from Sabongida Ora, Edo State. Aiboje spent his formative years with his parents in Lagos, where he had his primary education at St. Saviour's School. He enrolled into Federal Government College, Kaduna, and at age 16, he was admitted to study law at the University of Benin. where he graduated at a young age of 19 with a law degree, displaying early signs of his exceptional intellect and drive. Called to the Nigerian bar in 1987, he started his career in 1988 as a lawyer at Continental Merchant Bank during his National Youth Service Corps NYSC year. In 1991, he joined Guarantee Trust Bank PLC, GT Bank, where he rose to prominence as an executive director. His big moment came in 2002 when he led the acquisition of Access Bank, turning it from a small regional bank into a big player, a banking powerhouse in the industry. Throughout his career, Ike Mokwede has taken on different leadership roles, including Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Access Bank until December 2013. He later became President of the Nigerian Stock Exchange and retired in 2017, but remains on the National Council. Bowing out of Access Bank, he was given a befitting send-off.
No man or combination of men could transform what we met in Access Bank in 2002 into what would cause this type of people to come and celebrate today's office.
His foresight and managerial acumen have brought him chairmanship and directorial roles in prominent organizations such as African Finance Corporation, Associated Discount House Limited, Petrolone Energy, among others, thereby contributing greatly to their growth and sustainability. Hard work, they say, pays. Igboje Mokwede's hard work earned him many awards and honors. He received the National Productivity Order of Merit Award in 2009, conferred with Commander of the Order of the Niger CON in 2011 by the then President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, during his administration for contributing to banking and finance. As a visionary leader, he was installed into the E&Y World Entrepreneurs Hall of Fame in 2011 as the EY West Africa Entrepreneur of the Year and named African Banker of the Year in 2013. These amounting to how much others values his leadership and ideas. He got honored by Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers of Nigeria. Beside his work, Ige Mokwede also gives back to society. This philanthropist is involved in efforts to improve governance and healthcare across Africa through his Ige Mokwede Foundation, making a positive impact on people's lives. He initiated the Adopt a Healthcare Facility program in 2019, and he is the chairman of ABC Health and director of the Private Sector Health Alliance of Nigeria. He is the founder of chairman of Coronation Capital Limited since 2015 and has contributed to the growth of the Coronation ecosystem. Coronation Capital Limited, with other arms of its businesses, also bettered Coronation Art Gallery in Lagos on the 13th of May 2022, a platform for showcasing exceptional works of art that embodied the essence of cultural significance and artistic expression. Igboje Mokwede founded Coronation Art Gallery with the vision of democratizing art, foster appreciation and understanding for the artistic world, and making it accessible to a wider audience.
Bumi Augusto is, I knew Bumi when she was born. I know her parents. and I know all her siblings. She's a beautiful, wonderful, gifted Nigerian artist, and just like many of the others here. The piece behind me is a triptych, long throats, all up to longer throats. I actually thought that I was going to caption this collection. You know, this is really a microcosm of my entire collection, but I was going to capture it longer throats because this represents a lot of this collecting I did during COVID. Many of these pieces actually were not in Nigeria. I brought them home. I'll tell you something. I'm known for collecting masters, you know, the Nwonwus and the Yusuf Grillos and so on. I still do, okay? And I kind of stuck to that genre of classic. Those are the people who, when I was growing up, as I told you, those are the people who were my parents, either just older than them or contemporaries. So I grew up knowing these artists as my uncles, okay? So my first collecting was, you know, from works, you know, done by masters like that. After a while, you know, these works are really priced in. But Bumi Augusto, you know, her works, you know, which may appear even a bit pricey now, in 10 years' time, you know. So this is also hosted by Coronation, which are companies that are all about wealth creation. So there's also the investment angle. I don't collect for investments, but, you know, with all that these great Nigerian and African artists, the young ones, have been doing, and the way their prices have been rising, you know, I've got to focus on investments now.
Collaborated with the Nigerian Civil Service to digitalize work processes and public service delivery in October 2021. Recognizing 43 public servants at the 2022 Civil Service Award ceremony on behalf of the Igemokwede Foundation with an encouragement of cash prize worth 500,000 naira for each awardees.
It is my understanding that annually 43 public servants will be recognized in this fashion, and so with effect from the 2022 Civil Service Awards ceremony, on behalf of the Igemokwede Foundation, we will be putting an endowment with effect from this award session, whereby each awardee receives a cash prize of 500,000 naira. And in the interest of digital culture, the credits will go directly to your accounts.
Among his many certifications, affiliations, and fellowships, Igemokwede holds Triumph MBA from the London School of Economics, New York University, and HEC Paris. He attended an executive management program at Harvard Business School in the year 2000, and he is a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, also appointed to the International Advisory Board of Oxford University's Blavatnik School of Government. Igemokwede is a honorary fellow of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria and had received an honorary doctorate of science from Olabisi Onabanjo University in 2018. Also honored by Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers of Nigeria last year in a groundbreaking ceremony.
If the operators of our markets, of a nation's capital markets, are properly resourced in terms of skill, capacity, and conduct, nothing can stop that nation and its citizens from leaving the tarmac and moving from third world to first world. Nothing can stop it. The correlation between the advancement of financial markets and the advancement of national economies is perfect. It's not almost, it is perfect. And so, you understand why I have tied myself to the future of this market and why I have tried from the very word go that my voice was heard, to get the public sector and the elite within the private sector to understand that we cannot ignore this market.
Igboje is the first African co-chairman of the Global Business Coalition on Health and chairman of the Friends of the Global Fund, Africa. The business mogul has made significant donations to the Global Fund. He is the vice chairman of the Global Citizen Nigeria and creator of the Nigerian Solidarity Support Fund. There is always a story, or say many stories, behind every success, and this Ig Imokwede has shared in a book called Leaving the Tarmac, Buying a Bank in Africa, Red Door 2020. In it, he talked about how he and others turned Access Bank into a major success, showing his determination and vision.
On a personal note, I think the first thing is that I left Access Bank. I retired as CEO in 2013, and I knew that I needed time off just to recharge my battery, so to speak. I didn't think I would have more than a year and a half before my perpetual motion character, kind of took over once again. And so I wanted to use that period as productively as possible. So I had a year and a half, and what better to do in a year and a half, than write a book. And for me, it was an opportunity, for posterity to tell the story to my children in a structured sense, because before then, I just hadn't had the opportunity to sit down with my kids and say, this is what I did today, or this is what I did yesterday, and these are the highs and the lows of this journey. Herbert and I went through a hell of an experience between 2002 and 2013, and for him that experience has continued. We learned so much, we were exposed to so many things. We had really, really great mountains that we climbed. We scaled some pretty high heights and so on. In a sense, it would be very selfish of us to, lock this up in a box and not share it with others, because I think our experience, can be used by any other person who has an ambition to go out there and do, whatever it is they seek, whatever it is they dream about. And so the notion of writing for posterity and recording this period in my life, and probably more important, the notion of preparing a way for others, those are the things that drove me to write the book.
Ig Imokwede, former managing director of Access Bank Group, returns to lead Access Holdings, replacing Abubakar Jimo. His return after a decade aims to realize the shared vision of the late co-founder, Herbert Wigwe. Access Holdings PLC, trading under the Access Corp ticker on the Nigerian exchange, began to feel Igboje's progressive impact as its stock value increased by 1.52% following his appointments as chairman. Igboje Ig Imokwede is back again. Ig Imokwede is married to Ofovwe Ig Imokwede and has 4 children, namely Ohiozoje, Aima, Morenike, and Renown. He has been able to balance his family life with his professional achievements, setting an example as a leader and role model to many. He is an ordained minister of the Promised Land Ministry. In the annals of Nigerian business history, his story stands out, showcasing the power of vision, perseverance, and giving back to the community. From his humble beginnings to global recognition, he inspires others to dream big and make a difference. His legacy remains as he continues to make strides in business and philanthropy.
In 1957, just a greenhorn leaving school and looking for a job, going into broadcasting was something that I dreamt of. But that's only meant going into radio, because my old school, Holy Child College, still on the same site in Obalende, 2 streets away from the old NBC. I still can't forgive whoever changed the name to something else that is being called now FRCN. Because if the BBC remains BBC 100 years after the founding fathers, dreamt of starting television, radio from, all the war years and learning a bit from America. It all started from America. Because we were taught about all this. Every time they took us from school to take part in, school's debates on radio, we just walked across. It's all in Obalende and Ikoyi, Balende/Ikoyi. So I dreamt of doing something along the line. And then one of my teachers left us high and dry and went to be a newsreader on radio. Marie Tabio, who later became Mrs. Irikefe. Then we had people like Tung Adedoyin and Tuk. We used to listen to them on radio on the old, you wouldn't know anything about that now, the rediffusion. It was just, a little box in your home, and everybody looked forward to either listening to the 7 o'clock news in the morning or 6 o'clock or 7 in the evening. So that was all really all I had to do with broadcasting. And who was going to take me there was another matter altogether. Who would take you, little 16, 17-year-old girl, into broadcasting? But one had been bitten by the bug then. So, and only God knows where whatever dream you had was going to lead to. We read poetry, we did radio show, stage shows in school. The Catholic schools were very good for that. And my old school, just celebrating 150 years of its existence, just down the road from here on Broad Street. The nuns, they were all white nuns. No Nigerian nuns at the time that we were growing up. So all the dream they had, this kind of dream that we have now, going to England, but they were coming here to teach us. So I had learnt a lot of poetry, I had taken part in Festival of Arts, and I had gone to, the biggest hall we had then was at King's College, which is also down the road. Means of transportation was your SS foot. No BRT, no bicycles or whatever. So we did it all just walking around and learning from our teachers. And of course, our mentors were the nuns, like I said. So in my wildest dream, there was no way that I was thinking of going into anything like broadcasting. That is going back to answer your question. But they had a lot of plans for the girl child. And not along the religious lines now. But actually, they came to actually engender this whole idea of pushing the girl child forward. And not just me, a lot of us. People like Mrs. Francesca Emmanuel, they also went through the whole gamut of all this dream that I'm talking about. Television itself was brand new in the world. I have to talk about radio because that was what I knew as a child. But television, when it started, we didn't even know. Maybe in America, and then it went to Australia, and then to France. No. France came after Nigeria. You wouldn't believe that, would you? That we were number 6. America, Britain, Germany, Australia, one other country, and coming now home to Nigeria, where you cannot help but give a lot of credit to the dreams of people like late Chief Obafemi Awolowo and one of his ministers then, Chief Anthony Enahoro. So that's how I believe this whole package was placed on their laps and sold to Nigeria, to the Western Nigeria government. On the radar were lots of other people like me who had dreams about becoming Miss Nigeria. So maybe that will now give you a little background about how I took part in the Miss Nigeria pageant, Western Nigeria, and I became Miss Western Nigeria. Somebody must have fine-tuned some little knot somewhere and said, okay, you probably might be able to deliver. Because you are being interviewed when you go before the panel of judges. And somebody must have said, okay, that's a good material, you can come and take part in this. Before then, we had other people, Anike Agbaje Williams, Oliola Sokwe, who were working on radio. My dream was to work in radio, but then I missed that. And I was nursing, that dream of still going to radio. Never knew what television was all about. So maybe that answers your question, I'm not sure. But I took part in the Miss Western Nigeria pageant and I won. Took part in the Miss Nigeria contest and came second. So that meant that I didn't win. And if one of the, maybe the prize was to go on TV, it wasn't even there. It wasn't written into the, program that whoever did this, but the person was going to go to England. And so Helena Yemeluna, who won that contest, went to London and fulfilled her own dream. But I was still biting my nails, waiting for when I'll be able to get a job. There were other things that girls could do. You could be a nurse, you could be a teacher, you could be an assistant, a dental assistant. All those were things that young ladies, can, fulfill their dreams along those lines. They're still there. You still have young ladies. Mrs. Muritala Muhammad, the first time I met her, she was a dental assistant. Little did we know that her husband was going to be the head of state and she would be first. So you see, lots of things were there for the young girl who wanted to learn, who had the talent, and who wanted to perform, and who wanted to work hard. But now I don't know if girls want to work hard. All they want is, the table to be set, and then they come and, partake of whatever is there. It wasn't too difficult at the time that I was picked as one of the people to come and appear on WNTV. The audition was actually carried out before my time. I got involved in so many other things, trying to get a job, something to secure, something, to alleviate poverty. There was not too much poverty in Nigeria at the time because people could still make a living for themselves and, get by in society. But I was lucky that I had an aunt who was a nurse in the hospital in Ibadan, UCH in Ibadan. And she was married to an Englishman, and the man's friend happened to have been the man, Mr. Mathers, who was brought as one of the technical partners to WNTV. So we met at a dinner party, and just as you and I are chatting, I was only 18 plus. I was 17 when I took part in the pageant. So by this time I was growing up, and I thought I was a big girl. So I opened my mouth and I said a few things. And the man looked at me and said, how come you are not speaking with a Nigerian accent? And I didn't know what he meant because we were taught at St. Mary's to deliver whatever lines we were given to deliver. The Festival of Arts, I came second after an English boy from Corona School. And I was given a beating for coming second. not because I didn't perform well, but because I forgot to courtesy. And one of the judges, I think, who was then Mrs. Abayomi, Lady Abayomi, said that I delivered my lines very well. So if I were the Lord of Tartary, I would do this and that and the other. And so I came second. And when I got back to the school, the nun, Sister Marieta, said, you were not paying attention. So whatever you do in life, you have to be consistent. You have to perform well. The way we're trying to do now, the way we're trying to project your voice and whatever it is you have to offer with a lot of humility, not, trying to show off or to project your own image, or whatever message you have to deliver, you have to make sure that it is well delivered. The following year, St. Mary's Convent School, which is my old school, which is 150 years old in existence, went to the same King's College Hall, and we beat a lot of secondary schools. We came first. Pied Piper of Hamelin. Have you ever heard of that poetry? Pied Piper of Hamelin was about someone who wanted to get rid of all the rats in Europe. And all he did was to play the pipe. So that is what we were more or less doing. That's what you and I have heard. Being a Pied Piper, trying to get off all the ills in society. That's the main job of a broadcaster. There's so many things happening in the country, and it's only TV and radio that binds the country together. If the country falls apart tomorrow, you will rely on someone from radio or from television to make the announcement, to introduce the head of state who has just won the election, or the one who has just taken over. It's a huge responsibility. At that age, at 19, we had to introduce people like Chief Obafemi Awolowo on TV. We had to introduce people like Akintola, Oladoke Akintola, as the premier. And when everything broke down and it all went into smithereens, they brought in Chief Majekodumi as the administrator of the Western region. All this happening before our eyes. There were no other stations in the country except WNTV. And we were there, so we learned quite a lot. In fact, I believe that the whole country revolves around broadcasting. And if you are part of that organization, how would you feel at my age, at 80-something? As young people, perhaps you don't know all this history that I'm telling you about. It's a long, long story. But when you sit down, you have to put it all into perspective. You see that, well, some people are actually meant to be in different positions. Some people are meant to be doctors. Some people are meant to be nurses. But those of us that are in broadcasting, it's a huge responsibility. It's a passion. Something. Sometimes you don't even know how you got there in the first place. Or somebody may have discovered you. It's like being in Hollywood in those days. Someone has to develop. So you have the talent, the latent talent, and then somebody will discover you. So that's how I was discovered by Mr. Mathers at a dinner. I was put in that place because I had won the Miss Western Nigeria contest. If I hadn't done that, I probably would be somewhere in the kitchen washing plates, washing all the dishes. So there you are, if that answers your question. Well, there's no one that actually picks someone and puts you plonk without... I mean, of course, if you don't have any experience on the job, you have no business being there in the first place. But if I had taken part in Pied Piper of Hamelin towns in Brunswick, I was only 13. By a famous Hanover city, I was speaking like an English person. When I was only a Nigerian, little girl, being nurtured, by my mother, who was a seamstress, how would you ever get there? But you already have that background, that solid background on the rock, as it were. So by the time I was ready to go on TV, I had learnt from all the other, people that I mentioned their names earlier, like Anike Agbaje Williams. And I wouldn't say it was easy, because you always have that, butterfly fluttering in front of the camera or wherever. I think I took to television like I was meant to be there, with all humility. If I had been groomed by all these nuns that I have mentioned their names, they came to Nigeria to serve the people. They were not earning salaries, To become a nun, you have to take the oath of obedience, chastity, poverty, and all that. So you're not earning a salary. But whoever is there now is thinking of how much money he's going to get from whatever take comes from here, there, and yonder. So they taught us well. And nobody said you're going to go and appear on TV or you're going to be on radio. But just do what you're meant to do properly. It's a lot of sense of responsibility and diligence. And that stands at the back of your mind. That goes everywhere with you, wherever you go in life. Even when I was nursing a sick child, my late son was a sick child. And I was meant to take part in Verdict 79 with my colleagues Kerry Ahmed and Adamu Aogi. They all came with me to the hospital, which is just next door here. And then we came back and mounted the podium and continued our business as if nothing was happening. He didn't die at the time, of course, but the job must go on. That is always there at the back of your mind. So my first night, I wouldn't say that I didn't have any jitters, that I was not nervous. But I was able to deliver, and I think that was the staying power. That was what kept me going, because other people came on board. I was not the only one. All the members of the board had their own, little nephews and nieces that they wanted to project on TV. They all came and they couldn't make it. But Anike and I kept going. And if you gave me a script now, I think I would try and... We didn't have too many, teleprompters. Well, I was very good at, I had a photographic memory. So I was able to get hold of the script, and in less than 60 seconds, I'll be able to deliver it straight to the camera. That was one of the assets that I had also, which was God's gift. It's not by own might or whatever you think you have. You have the talent, of course, but also there has to be some other little bits of gifts that will help you to project the image of a professional. A lot of controversy. There is hardly any TV, radio, movie personality that can scale through that without any, because people are watching, people are trying to find their own little, base of criticism here, there, and yonder. You can't be a goodie, 2 shoots without, any, how shall I say it, problem here, there, and yonder. So everybody has their own way of looking at people. People say, well, what has she got to do? She went to take part in Miss Western Nigeria the other day. So what's the big deal about her? And then somebody will still add their own salt and pepper here and there. But I was lucky that I was being nurtured by someone like T.O.S. Benson, who was then our Minister for Information. And he felt that, everything should not stop here. There were things happening in America. He made sure that my name was there. I was at the inauguration of President Johnson, Lyndon Johnson. And we commanded a lot of attention there, myself and my colleague who came from Lagos, the station in Lagos. And for the president to notice that there were 2 black people sitting behind him at his inaugural ball, I think it was very overwhelming for me because not many black people had invitation to that event. But Charity Adadevo and I were there, and he stood up and shook our hands where we were sitting behind, 3 rows behind the president. Then Kennedy had died, and we were still not seeing, we were still feeling very hot about, the loss of Kennedy. And here was the new president coming up. We were not particularly keen on being welcomed by him. But then, things like that happen to you, and it makes headline news. 2 black people, they didn't even say Nigerians. They thought we were from Ghana because some journalists came around and said, "How is your man Nkrumah?" And we said, "No, our own Prime Minister is Tafawa Balewa." They never heard of him then. But then they had to go and carry out their own study and find out who Tafawa Balewa was. And of course, the whole country was very proud of us that we went and actually stole the show at the inauguration of President Lyndon Johnson. So many other things happened. When I came to London, the British Information Office, they were trying to look for someone to host their program. That host happened to be around, so they picked me to host their program. But you don't ad-lib on any of those stations. Everything is written out. The questions, even your answer will be written. You can change it around a little bit, but they make sure that you said the right thing at the right time. So that was how we were able to gain attention. German television also invited us because they were interested in Nigeria. See how the German Chancellor came to Nigeria. That was what happened at the time. In 1963, we had just become a republic then, from being an independent station in 1960. By 1963, we then became a republic. And we were chosen to go and appear on German television in Berlin. And they wanted a little bit of culture. So Benson had his own band. So we were chosen to go and represent Nigeria then. Nobody knew who the ambassador was, but they wanted to know who was presenting something on TV. So that's how important television has been. And that, in fact, we were the first television in the whole of Africa. The very first station, WNTV, that was a call signal. WNTV, first in Africa. There's nothing like that now. Nobody wants to know whether you are first or second. But the station that is being run in Nigeria, I think, has the largest number of stations than any other country in Africa. We have about 21 stations, and now it's still, still counting. And yours is coming on board, and so many others. I think next to America, Nigeria should have been the best country for television broadcasting in the whole world. There's not so many countries in the world that has as many stations as Nigeria. We only have to put our heads together. We only have to find joy in whatever we're doing. Sometimes when it's raining, people say, "Oh, it's raining," and they feel very bad about the rain. But if you look closely, behind that rain, there'll be sunshine, there'll be something else coming on. You see some silver clouds coming during the rain, but Nigerians don't have the patience to wait for that kind of thing. That's what television teaches you. If you're in the studio, you don't know what's happening outside. You just get on with the job. That's what we were taught. were taught not by Nigerians. Even when we started, we couldn't go on air and ad-lib. There was always someone there, Mr. Blackledge, to write the script. And if you can commit that to memory and deliver it, they're home and dry. It's not everyone that has a gift, not everyone that has a talent. It's God-given. And if you listen as a child at 17, 18, 19, at my own age, I learned from school, and I was able to impart this into the job. So within a few months, we got double promotion, all of us, because we were doing very well. Anika Agbadi was excellent. Olasope was superb. And so many other people reading the news. We were the first female to read the news. Women were not allowed to read the news. Nigeria started it. BBC wouldn't allow a woman to pick up a script and read the news. We were already there. So that's how we were able to gain this global attention that you mentioned. It's not easy. It's not easy. Like I said, when we were taught by, not by Nigerians. But somebody came along the line and said, we don't have to speak like English people. You can just carry on and use your own parochial background. If you are a Robo man, you can speak English the way you like. That was his own idea. Because he didn't believe in us doing all this la-di-da and trying to, say things the proper way. But that watered down the standards a bit. Because then everybody, maybe he had a relation who wanted to appear on TV, and he wasn't allowed to because he couldn't speak like Ikena Ndagoba or Bojalalade and things like that, or Friday Fude or Mike Nahu. So somebody must have gone to him and said, because he doesn't speak like any of those people who were taught by, foreign teachers, people who had learned, people who knew what a DJ, we had a Bible then, that you had to pronounce your words correctly. So he came and said, now that I'm DG, I'm not going to tolerate all this, your English way of speaking. And some other people, of course, that watered down the standards. That's not our making. We were still ready to continue the way we were doing, but then they pushed us to the background. But there were others who were able to perform well. Ruth Benamesia, Opia, Siene and of course Bimbo Oluyede, who was born in England. If you already employed those people to deliver the goods and to present your programs, you're not going to sack all of them because they speak with English accent. I don't see how that can be an offense. Cannot be, guilty of speaking English well, like the English people. But they then brought out other people. And you had the head of presentation. I became head of the presentation after I came under Ndagoba. And you're trying to prepare your roster, and you wanted to put such people online to read the network news. Then they say, okay, bring somebody who can speak like the Radidididu and do a little bit of Ewe on the side. It's part of our culture. So that is what is happening to TV broadcasting in Nigeria. It's all very interesting. So, this cultural milieu and bringing, a touch of Nigeria. Nigeria is doing well. In that aspect, in the music world, I think we're leading. Some of us who grew up on Handel's Messiah and Mozart, we have to sort of put our hands behind our back now and watch, all the way things have turned around, and Nigerian music is doing well. Afrobeat is reigning everywhere in the world. So really, you can't find faults with that. So when they watch a bit of Fela and his children and all his grandchildren doing well, then listen to the channels on TV, you have to take what you get from there as well. If somebody can wake up one day and say, why should your station be called the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation? I say it should now be Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. Tongue twisting. Takes a long time to come to terms with. If everyone wake up in the morning and say, this is Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, you have the call signal. Da 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 da. This is the Nigerian Broadcasting whatever. How are you going to put that, into context with the new one? First of all, when you wake up, you don't know whether you are even coming out from the right side of your bed or not. You are going to have to face your audience and say, we are no more the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. We are now Federal whatever, which you don't even know where the man, who came up with the idea. He didn't even consult you, didn't even put it to test. If the British corporation, they are going to change from BBC after 100 years, they will ask the whole nation, they will say, where are we going to take this from? They will ask everybody, they will do a census, they will do all kinds of things, carry out all kinds of tests to see whether people will accept it from them. No. Nigerians are very high and cut and dry. This is the way I want it. I'm the head of state, so I can change everything now, and all of you can start marching forward and march back again. Soldier go, soldier come. I think Fela would have been a good head of state for Nigeria, because he would have got some people marching the right way. So, I think that is what has happened to this country. But we will still settle down. The soldiers that have been marching since, they will do attention one day. And then we'll be able to sort ourselves out gradually. I think we're going through the right process now. People are beginning to find their own feet. If things go around, price of goods go up, Nigerians will find a way to come to terms with that. When we were growing up, everything was done. We won't say according to the colonial rules and regulations, but at least there were standards that were set down for you and things that you had to toe the line. This is the proper way to do things. But if somebody says, no, let's turn around and turn it upside down. First stack. That's the only thing that has happened to the whole world from Nigeria, that shook the whole world, that brought everybody attention to see what Africa has to offer the whole world. It happened here on this soil in Nigeria. I was a member of the ceremonial committee. I remember the opening ceremony. There were about 15 heads of state. We've never had anything like that since then. That is what we should ask ourselves. Every head of state that takes over from Nigeria should find out again. It's not from broadcasting that you can get the answer. You can get the answer from technocrats who had worked in all those areas. What happened? How come it couldn't happen again? It's like Armageddon. Every country was represented. Every culture was represented. Miriam Akiva was watching us and called us at the station one day and said, even from the way we linked programs, they couldn't expect that it could be happening in Nigeria. We received phone calls. People were sending us bottles of champagne on the air. The links. Bimbo Oloyede was there with me. I was at the opening ceremony. I was yanked from there to come back to the station. from, interacting with the head of state or with our head of state at the time to come and man the station, because what was phenomenal. How come we've not been able to do it? 77 years, how long ago was that? I was only 37 years old then. I'm going on 90 now. It hasn't happened again. We should examine that. Even the head of state that was there is still alive. Let us ask him again. Let us put him down and say, Oga, please explain to us what happened. Some people came up with a theory that the symbol that was used was fetish, that is what has happened and Nigeria has turned upside down. If that is acceptable, it may be superstitious in your eyes, but let us find out. Let's not call it Babalawo. Is it bad that it is a Nigerian that carved this image? And it is making news outside the world. Now you say, no, it is not good that Nigeria should be able to project an image that would attract the whole world, something that will bring everybody on their knees. After the first attack, we were still recovering, just batting in the glory of first attack. What's this artist, the blind one, who was not part of it, who didn't believe in it? He came and had his own first attack all on his own from America. Stevie Wonder, he came with his own team. We had to mount all the cameras back in the studio for him. He had his own 7-day festival here in Nigeria. What prompted him to do that? Other people came. They wanted to know what was happening in Nigeria. What has happened? We couldn't have another festival since then.
What do you think went wrong?
Nothing went wrong. Everything went so well that people wanted to destroy, our own Nigerian people wanted to destroy the glory that's this whole thing that emanated from it. It hit the whole world. People are asking, when you go to Britain, you say, what happened? Why aren't you having? I had a friend who was head of the, he was from the British Guyana, a black guy. He was friends with everybody. He knew all Nigerians. He said, what happened? Why are you going to have another festa? Professor Ian Hall, he keeps asking me. Even if we can't have it because it was very expensive anyway, Nigeria had all the money. Even though we had a coup after, it was first of all the brainchild of Gawan. And then Muritala came on board. Muritala was killed, but in spite of that, they couldn't kill that dream of having a festac in Nigeria. If we are able to bring out all those programs again, I think we'll be able to answer those questions. I'm still alive. There are a lot of people who will still want to know the answer to that. It's a very, very brilliant question that you have asked. I think if it was another country, we'll set up an inquiry and say, what happened? Can we resuscitate this whole dream? Some of the tapes that we had then in WNC, some people put them in one place and set fire to them because they felt maybe somebody in their religious organization said, you are the one projecting all these things, so Nigerians are bringing idols around. Who gave them the idea to make the idol? It's God now. It's from God. Whatever thing you were able to put together, the Bible was put together because God loved the world so much, and He wanted us to learn about, things that had gone out from the time of Adam and Eve. God loved the whole world and created Muhammad and said, put people together and let them say Allah Akbar every day, morning, noon, night. God created so many wonderful things for us, so many images that we can imbibe from, so many things that we can learn from. People want to come and learn about our country. Instead, we say, we want our sculptures back. What are you going to do with them? You don't have a museum where you're going to put them to make them thrive and people come here to Nigeria. It's a good idea for them to come, but if they learn about your country, country, what your people have done over the past 2,000 years. 2,000 years of Nigeria image was put together by the BBC. Nigeria went and tore it up in shreds. He tore it up. He said, what are you doing with that? What you call bad belly. I don't know if anybody sang a song with that title. If we maybe start from there and say, what do you do with your own bad belly? Some people, Theatre Stadium. There is no theatre in England, in London, that I know that have gone to watch plays and things that have not been in existence for over 500 years. So many studios. We have one big one, the dream of Nigerians. And now we want to go and do banking there. We want to go and do trade. It's supposed to be for culture, for our own culture. Lagos State will be dragging federal government by the neck and say, no, we own the theatre now. And we want somebody to come and do something there. If we can only put all these things behind us, the evil that people have done in the past, people like Julius Caesar, when they were writing all those, when Shakespeare was writing all those things. Things like that have happened in the past. We should examine them. Get people like Wale Soyinka to sit down and rewrite the whole history again. If they ask me questions like you're asking me now, I'll be there to answer. Because I saw it all unfold before my eyes. The image of Nigeria will come tops. All the stations in Nigeria should get involved and do stories on this question that you've asked me. A very salient question, and I love it so much. That might be able to revive the image of this country and let us know where we are heading, in what direction, and bring us back to really the point of salvation. Well, I haven't seen it. I must have mentioned it somewhere, I think on one of the channels, when they was trying to build the scandal around it, and I said, and I tried to put the record straight, that wasn't really what happened. And that, it was from, I think it was from a book that was written by one of the wives that said that I was party to his breakdown of their marriage. And I was trying to put the record straight that that wasn't really the true picture. I have due respect. I have to, bow wherever I come in the presence of a president of this nation, past, present, or even present, yes. I hope I'll still be around when we have others coming on board. But I was taken aback that the head of state asked me a question that, because in the past, we were in the studios when the head of state came, and we were given scripts. If there had been, there have been several coups, and it's always the presenter or the station, either the managers that take the brunt of the whole, the issue when things like that happen. You don't know who's coming. You don't know how many jeeps are going to be coming in. You don't know how many, what you call all those heavy equipment that they drive in as they are coming into the studio. You don't know where they are going to shoot the station down. Nobody knows that. It's only the people who have worked during that period that can relay those experiences. Sometimes you're at work in the morning, by the time you come back in the afternoon, the government has changed. And if you haven't got maybe your ID card, you won't be allowed into the station, or somebody can throw you in or into jail. So all this had happened in the past. Nobody has told any of these stories. people like Segun Lushola or Dr. Kolade, somebody might come and say, so has happened. I was driving my former husband to work in the morning. I dropped him at the station. By the time I reached home, there had been a coup. Murtala had been killed. And they were under siege, the whole station. Just imagine that kind of scenario. You know, things like that had happened in the past. But Nigerians don't have that sense of history that wants to sit down and say, well, we want to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Of course, we'll pray that it doesn't happen again. And you wake up in the morning and somebody is announcing something else, different from what you have. A colleague of ours had been, you know, pushed into something that he wasn't aware of. Those are kind of situations that have happened in the past. But this one, we were all dressed in ceremonial costume and trying to, you know, I was the only one that was asked to stay in the presidential, what do you call it, the special area that is demarcated for head of states on issues like that. And all of a sudden, the president is following me all about. And I said, this is getting too close for comfort. And I said, what's your name again? I said, my name is Julie Coker. I was trying to play innocent, that I didn't know what was happening. He said, hey, how much did this your dress cost? Can I have, sorry, sir. I don't think I'm the proper person to answer that question, sir. Yeah, you don't have answer. It's a bit unprofessional. I mean, not in the profession per se that we mean, but I wasn't prepared for that kind of thing. So I must have given a rude answer to that. And then, before I knew it, Ade Lanwa, who was then the head of Navy, came to me and said, you have been very rude to the president. The president said, he asked you a question and you couldn't answer. I said, good morning, Mr. President, sir. Because when we introduce them on TV, that's how we introduce them. We're now going to be addressed by a new head of state, Mr. So, sir. And I said, you should go and ask the president of Festac. I'm sure he has a record of what the question is asking me can be answered, better answered by the president of Festac. If he finds that unbearable or rude, then either that one is not doing his work well or I'm not doing my work well and I don't belong here. But I carried on regardless. Shortly after that, another top army officer, Joseph Garuba, that one was the tallest man next to Ufwe Bonye or the one from Mali. And he said, Julie, I know you can be rude at times. I said, not on this occasion. This is a wonderful occasion for the whole nation. And I'm trying to be my best behavior. And he said, the president said, I'm being very rude to him. He said, I know you, maybe you can say things. And I said, no, I never. He asked how much the dress cost. And I don't think I have an answer, which may contradict what will be on record if you really examine it thoroughly. I was getting very nervous at the time. So I dropped everything and disappeared from the scene, and I never went back again. But the thing reverberated right down to all the committees and members by late Auntie, what's her name? Kentebe, which was a lady, commodore of the Navy. She said, Julie, I think she heard that she was going to be sacked that day because the naval officer sent to her and said, you are the one that did this. And I said, can never, God forbid, can never reach me because I'm not in the forces. I'm doing my own job here as a professional broadcaster. Well, I think it has reached a stage now where whatever you say might be taken against you because there are so many people going to court now and people sent to jail, but things were not as bad as they are now, because some of the gory stories we hear and people being, penalized and sent to jail, I think it has reached an astronomical level that it's something that's actually, maybe it was there and people did not want to open the canker worms and let us see what is really happening. In my own case, it was a deliberate attempt on the part of an aunt of mine who felt that there's no child that should continue going to school at a certain age. And they were trying to arrange for me to get married to somebody. And it's a tradition of our people, in Delta, to find out whether the girl is still a virgin. Then they go and look for one old man. It's not this, the one that is happening is child abuse now. I don't know what to call that one. There are other cases too of children being sold into, prostitution and apply this a trade that by some madams, which is not really acceptable. But there are other areas that maybe some parents cannot pay for their children's school fees, so they send them, into child labor or whatever. I think every child should be given a chance to have, proper education. If all can start free and fair education to children, whether all genders, boys and girls, see what the results that have come out of that. But in some other parts of Nigeria, they believe that that it's not acceptable in their religion, and so they still keep the children down and send them into early marriage. And a lot of people have dealt, people like Dr. Simi Johnson, they were in the forefront of that vanguard to liberate the children who have been kept into further at age 13. And when they have children, they are not able, either they die, premature deaths from, being too early to go into pregnancies and have the children properly and things like that. Different stages, it's a very serious issue that actually I think has been well looked into, not by the United Nations or by, but Nigerian government itself should look at it more, more serious terms and try to find how to deal with it. But there's something that happened in some homes, which is now coming out now, which in the past, members of the family will not allow maybe a woman that is a victim. No, the child is a victim, but there are other, things that sort of trigger down the line, like a wife, for instance, who is watching her husband, trying to abuse children that are under their care. And the children definitely cannot, rise to the level that a child who's been abused at an early stage cannot continue with her education. So I have been involved in issues like that because I was affected as a 13-year-old when an aunt of mine felt that I should stop going to school. But I was rescued by another aunt. So I was lucky at the time. Not many people have been able to, get through all this kind of trauma. I was lucky that just at the time, the man was busy talking to some other people, and it's like somebody being kidnapped and another person coming to your rescue. So I was lucky at my own, to escape that unscathed and get on with my life. If I hadn't gone to, maybe I would have been having 13 children. It's good to have children so that the population will multiply. But then you have to make sure that the children are able to, get on with their education. And when you educate that child, he's able to look after other children. I've raised so many children in the process, because I was able to earn enough money to take care of members of my family. And that is what everybody should sort of, try and rise up to that challenge. Our chief, Folami Koka, was the Babeto of Lagos. So, and I used to accompany him to the palace of Yekon. And someone then said, well, Yeto, why don't you let... He wanted his wife to be the Yeto, but she rejected it. She said she didn't want to because, she thought they were going to perform some fetish. It wasn't really fetish. My brother now turned to me and said, Julie, do you want the title? I said, no, it's not for me to say, because I wasn't terribly keen. But he said he was going to carry out all the preparations. And I said, well, if you're going to do that, why not? And the late Oba Adeyinka Yekon graciously offered me the title. I accepted and went through the ceremony. So I've been a Yeto of Lagos now for getting on 40-something years. We only have one majesty in England. And that is one of the oldest institutions in the world. Some other countries are getting rid of their heads of their traditional rulers. But, France doesn't have one, for instance. There are some countries in Europe, I think in Finland, that still have, kings and queens and all that. But Nigeria, every little village, every doorstep has one title. This is the palace of the so. It wasn't like that in our own time. You had only one Oba in Lagos. Now you have so many. You have several Obas. This one claiming this and that. Etiosa, whatever. After a while, there's going to be a clash. Maybe not in our own time. So if they are playing traditional roles, somebody will lay claim to some title that belongs to somebody else and another one. There's no end to it. So let them stay the way they are now. If they want to multiply, that has nothing to do with me because we don't have any say in that. It's not, because you can say now that this station is trying to sell this idea to be propagating an idea that should not be. I don't think anyone should play any constitutional role. If each one has its own, in the states, at the state level, they take it, I think it's rotated. After a while, one steps down, another one takes over at that level. If they want to go and attend the meeting at the House of Assembly, that's up to them. But at the federal level, I think, no. No. I don't approve of it at all. Because then you will have some woman coming on and saying that he's the one that is entitled to the title. It's not, I don't know whether any African country actually accepted that sort of thing. So Nigeria shouldn't start. Nigeria at certain points in any of these things. Once Nigeria starts, other people will start. And before you know it, the whole thing will skyrocket and another war starts. We have enough problem on our hands as it were now. No, we are lagging behind. It's such a terrible shame that we only have about 4 women in the Senate. It's ridiculous. We seem to be dancing backwards. In that regard, I think we're falling short. Totally. There was a time when there were more. There doesn't have to be more women in the Senate. I think there should be maybe 50%. Not even 30-something affirmative, whatever that they're going to Beijing to talk about. There should be more. There should be more women participating in politics. I don't know whether it's because No. I don't want. I just believe that we should have more women.